There's always a game that flies under the radar. This one flew so low under the radar that I didn't even know of its existence until after its developer went bankrupt shortly after this game's release.
Woolfe, the Red Hood Diaries was developed by Belgian indie studio Grin. They got financing from Flanders Audiovisual Funds of €60,000 and additional funding from the PMV Culture Investment. I have no idea what those organizations are. And it got an additional $72,000 from Kickstarter. The game was released on March 15, 2015 on Steam, with a PlayStation 4 and Xbox version on the way. Then on August 10, 2015, Grin canceled the console versions, canceled the sequel, Woolfe Volume 2, closed the studio, and filed for bankruptcy, because the poor sales and bad reviews put the studio in massive debt and couldn't reward the Kickstarter backers. Rebellion Developments then bought the intellectual property and delivered on the Kickstarter backer rewards. What their plans are with the property seems to be unknown, as there hasn't been any mention of it since. The game's reception has been ranged mostly mediocre to a handful of negative reception, and very few positive ones, averaging about 5 out of 10. And that's all the backstory I got for this game. And artistically speaking, it's interesting. It's got a gothic steampunk motif going for it, which I like. I'm into that stuff, so of course it grabbed my attention. I'm reminded of Alice Madness Returns, which I think might have been a major influence on the look and overall atmosphere of the game, just lacking the psychological horror elements. The animation is pretty good. It looks kinda weird though, but I think it's more of a style choice. I do like the music, it's all very fitting, but the music and sound has a noticeable delay in skipping. And speaking of fitting, Red's voice fits the character, but the acting is horrible. It's very monotone and Red's inflection is really off. A lot of the dialogue is also in rhyme, which I like as it goes with the whole fairy tale theme. Woolfe, the Red Hood Diaries is a hack and slash platform game. You'll notice that the game is presented in a similar manner as Super Mario 3D Land or 3D World, where the camera is in a fixed position, unable to move a full 360, but you can pan it left, right, up, or down, slightly giving you some idea on where you're going. You can jump, double jump, and climb ledges that shine. The platforming is alright, but there's a lot of questionable design choices. There's invisible walls everywhere. While I can jump higher than the railings, I can't jump over them. I have to run down the stairs. And even though I could jump as high as the railing, I can't jump up and climb over them from the bottom. There's very few puzzles that you'll solve, and the few that you come across are just turning valves or pulling levers in order to gain access to other areas. Red has 3 speeds: run, sprint, and sneak. There is no walk. You can sneak around the tin guards or run away from them, but there are times where you will have to fight. X is a normal attack and Y is a heavy attack, and you can dodge with B. Combat is clunky, there's no doubt about that. While you can dish out a lot of damage and do it quickly, you'll also take a lot, because the enemies have little to no telegraphs and surround you with swarm tactics. Hack and slash games are supposed to have a smooth and flowing combat system. This one is way too sluggish. And I've died at weird times, like the first encounter with the Pied Piper. He releases a toxic gas and I died about 2 seconds into it, but then I had no issue afterwards. I've died when that bottle representing my health still had about a quarter left, so I think that the health meter isn't programmed correctly, as I've taken several hits that chipped away little amounts of health and had quite a bit left and then died from another attack that was doing minor damage. You can activate magic skills by holding the left bumper and pressing one of the buttons. The second you press the bumper, your magic starts draining, so it doesn't matter if you use it or not. I find the 3 bottles not to be an accurate way of representing how much magic you have. You can have less than a bottle, activate it, and not be able to do anything, and then it just drains. If I can't use a magic attack, why am I allowed to activate it in the first place? And it's really annoying when it looks full, but it's only a pixel away from actually being full. In the city, you'll find tin guards. There's regular ones that can be defeated easily, Tesla tin guards that will stun you, and once they do that, it's back to the last checkpoint as you've been considered captured, and red tin guards that do a lot of damage and can take one hell of a beating. In the woods, you'll find a few fairies, and then you'll fight a few wolves. That's it. There's only 2 main areas, the city and the woods. The city is the largest and the woods is the smallest. The city can be challenging due to the tin guards, mostly the red ones, but you'll only see about 5 of those, and that's when you're near the end of the stage. Then you fight the Pied Piper as an actual boss. He's easy but has an insta-kill green mist thing like the first time you face him in the sewers. You kill enough rats, he spawns dancing images of himself, you avoid them for a few seconds, his platform lowers, and then you attack. You do this 2 more times, and he's dead. The woods are straight up bullshit. There's a few false paths that trick you into thinking you can go that way, while the way that you're supposed to go looks like it's closed off. There's also a ton of instant kill crap. There's spikes or green gas that'll kill you the second you touch it. This area is all about platforming, and there was a few times where the game wasn't responding to the controller. Then after a cutscene, you have to chase Woolfe through the woods, which is littered with dead ends, and if you go that way, it's back to the last checkpoint because Woolfe's stagecoach will get too far ahead. Then you fight Woolfe. First you have to fight his wolves, and then you have to make sure they don't kill Granny. After the wolves are dispatched, you actually fight him proper. Attack him a few times, avoid his instant kill lightning, repeat 2 more times, and then you beat the game. As for the story, I'm going to spoil it for you, and I'm not going to bother putting a timestamp for where to skip because I doubt you'll play this game. The story is about Red out to kill Woolfe for the death of her father. The exposition that's given to you through the game doesn't really fill you in on the story. You find that Red's father worked for Woolfe and made the robot soldiers that are in the city. Not that he wanted to, but did it to support his family, and he was more of a toy maker. And the story contradicts itself towards the end as Red continues to explain her origins, and this is why I'm not doing a spoiler alert, because the game contradicts itself. In the sewer area, it's implied that her mother and father lived together in the city, because she said it was love at first sight when her parents met, and then they got married. But then one day her mother went missing after she went into the woods to pick some flowers. She even asked the Pied Piper if it was him that caused her mother to go missing, and the Pied Piper never talks, so you'll never know. But then, just before the final boss, Red says that she didn't meet her paternal grandmother and father, who apparently lived in the woods together until her mother died, and that her father and grandmother didn't even know of her existence. So, Red has 2 contradicting origin stories. The game ends on a cliffhanger. After the grandmother explains that Red must free the city and a spell of hers went wrong, a ghostly looking wolf leaps out of the darkness on the attack, fading to black with the words "to be continued" on the screen. Also, throughout the city portion of the game, Red talks about missing girls and blame the Pied Piper. And the grandmother said that Red must find them at the end of the game. So it wasn't the Pied Piper that took the girls, cause Red kills the Pied Piper. These are a lot of questions and contradictions that will never get answered because the game isn't getting a sequel, which is sad. The game has a really good idea for its world and would be neat to see Red find and interact with other fairy tale characters. It'd be like Shrek, only with a gothic steampunk take on it. The game isn't long. While Steam says I beat it in 2 hours, but I had to go back and replay a certain portion of the game because I wasn't sure when the game last saved, as it's not entirely clear when it does. So if you take out the cutscenes, avoid the bullshit, and don't die, the game is maybe 45 minutes at the most. It also won't work with the Xbox One wireless adapter. It stops recognizing it after a minute, so you'll need to plug it into your computer if you actually want to play the game.
This game is the very definition of diamond in the rough. Really, 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 really in the rough. If you're gonna buy it, get it on a sale if you want to play it that bad. I can't recommend it at its price now of $10. But I can't wait for the next review because we're going back to Skylands with Skylanders Imaginators.